Hello there everybody and welcome back to Movie Squirm. Today I'm going to be doing another top 10 video and this is my top 10 horror first time watches for 2024. Now let me just explain what this video means. This is not about any movies that came out in 2024. I'm going to be doing separate videos for them. I'm going to be doing my top 10 of 2024. I'm going to be ranking every horror movie I've seen from worst to best in 2024. This is for movies that came out either in 2023 or below. So they could be from 1941 or 1972. You know, they're just movies that I discovered in the horror genre for the first time this year, or if you're watching the video in 2025, last year. Now, I do think that there's always movies out there that we just haven't seen, even if lots of other people have seen it. There's always that couple in the background there that you just never quite got to. And I will admit, it is a little bit shameful that I haven't got to some of these movies until now, but I'm always looking for movies in the past that I probably should have watched by now, or, you know, discovering new movies that I hadn't really heard of that people recommend in the horror genre. You know, I don't just watch new releases, I watch lots of old stuff as well. Plus, I do plenty of rewatches throughout the year, but these are the ones that I watched for the very first time in 2024 that is not from the year 2024. So I watch a lot of movies throughout the year, and I do my recent horror watches videos. So if you want to follow what I've been watching all the time throughout the year, I'll leave the link to that series down below. I am actually doing another video, but I just talk about every horror release that I watched since the video before that. And if you want to follow me on Letterboxd to keep up with what I've been watching as well, I'll leave that in the link down below as well. So without further ado, guys, let's get into it. Number 10 is going to be The Mangler. Now, I haven't had the best relationship with Tobe Hooper. Granted, my favourite horror movie of all time is The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but everything else I've watched by him, I don't really care for too much. Eaten Alive was pretty dull, really. I've never really been into Poltergeist all that much. And Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, man, I can't stand that movie. So I'm a little bit of a love-hate relationship more toward the hate end of things with Tobe Hooper. I always just think, was that a fluke what he done with the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre? I know that's probably sacrilege to some horror fans out there for me to say that, but his films just don't really connect with me. However, The Mangler was a real nice surprise for me because I didn't expect too much, and I really enjoyed this film. This is all from the mind of Stephen King, based on a short story, I believe. And it sees Robert Englund, who's like the manager of this laundry factory, where these machines press the laundry. And there's this gigantic machine in there. It's nicknamed the Mangler, because I think people have had accidents and stuff in this machine. But apparently, when this detective starts to look a little bit further into these accidents and people getting crushed by this machine, he seems to think that this might be a haunted machine, haunted by this demon, which is a really interesting concept, I think. Stephen King turns simple concepts into huge horror stories, doesn't he? Even though this was a short, I do get that. But he does a lot of things like that, you know, haunted car, Christine, you know, for example, haunted hotel, The Shining. Here we've got a haunted laundry press machine. So yeah, I thought Robert Englund was really fun in this, really off the scales. Ted Levine, really decent as the detective in here. Weird to see him in the good guy role, really, because I just remember him from Silence of the Lambs, Buffalo Bill, of course. But there's some kills in this movie, guys, that were just like some of the best I've ever seen, especially where this woman gets pulled through the Mangler. Oh my God, I could feel every single bone breaking in her body as this was happening. So yeah, The Mangler was a real nice surprise for me, and probably my second favourite Tobe Hooper film after The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So that is The Mangler. Next up, we have Frontiers from 2007. Now, this was part of the French extreme uprising movie genre, if you like. At the time, we got Martyrs, Inside, High Tension, of course, which I've reviewed on the channel. And I have actually reviewed this one on the channel as well. Any movies that I've talked about here, guys, that I've reviewed fully, I'll leave them in the link down below as well. So you'll see a full review for this in the link down below if you want to go and check it out. But this one was something more of a bit more of an animated type movie compared to them other movies I just mentioned. They are very, very serious films. And this one is serious as well, but I do think the villains are a little bit more comic book style in this movie, which just made for a fun experience, I thought, especially the guy who's like the lead Nazi in this film, who we meet later on. He's just really animated and out there. But this sees a bunch of characters who I think they've just done a robbery, so they are kind of antagonists, really. And I like it when movies follow the characters who are kind of the bad guys. I just think it makes it more interesting, and there's no one really to root for here. It's kind of a double-edged sword. I mean, you can't really get behind them, but the people they face are even worse than them, so you sort of get behind them. But yeah, they go to this inn because they're on the run, and they run into this. People who run this inn are cannibals, and they end up kidnapping them and tying them up in this sort of weird underground bunker sort of thing, and violence just ensues from there. Now, there's some really brutal kills in this movie, kind of following in the footsteps of High Tension and stuff. I think there's a guy who gets locked in a gas chamber at one point, and he sort of freezes to death, which is a horrible death scene. And there's some real tendon pain in here, so if you're not a fan of your ankles being sliced or anything like that, this one might be a little bit of a hard watch. But I had a really good time with this movie. I thought it was thoroughly enjoyable. But just that aspect of following criminals around just made it a little bit more interesting, I thought. So that is Frontiers. Next up, we have Dark Knight of the Scarecrow from 1981. This one just had Halloween written all over it when I was looking at the cover and stuff like that. And it was around October time, and I thought, you know what, this is on Amazon Prime. The movie poster looks so cool. I'm just going to watch this. I hadn't heard much about it. I think I'd seen it in the video shop years before when I was a kid. But horror Scarecrow movies aren't really my strong point. I don't think I've seen many of them at all, to be honest. This one was another real nice surprise for me. Now, according to my friend Naj from Rock God 2004, he told me that this was actually a TV movie, which I didn't know. Straight to video, straight to TV, if you like. And it's one of the best ones I've seen in the horror genre, I'm not going to lie. Now, this sees this boy who's like, he's like a grown adult, but he's got the mind of a child, basically, and he's hanging around with this little girl who's about 6 or 7. And this girl gets bit by a dog, and the village people don't hear about the dog. They just automatically assume that this guy has hurt her because they think he's a paedophile and stuff. And 4 of these vigilantes go out to kill this sort of mentally ill child, man baby, if you like. And he sort of hides himself in this scarecrow. They shoot the scarecrow dead, him inside the scarecrow, and then the scarecrow comes back and starts to kill them all off one by one. Now, this isn't really a movie where you see the death scenes. They're more implied. There's not really too much violence or anything in this film, but that didn't take away the fact how much enjoyment I had from it, because these 4 vigilante villain type guys are just real horrible arseholes, and you really do want to see them get their comeuppance. And you sort of champion this scarecrow who's sort of back for revenge and stuff. And I thought it was a really well done movie for such a low budget. It seems, it really did feel autumnal and have that October feel to it. There's a lot of scenes involving pumpkin patches and stuff like that. So yeah, I really enjoyed this one, and I believe it's coming to Blu-ray here in the UK later this year, so I'll be definitely picking that one up. So that is Dark Knight of the Scarecrow. Next up, we have Trick or Treat from 2007. Now, this one, I just bought it when it came out, when Arrow announced it, because a lot of people had told me how good this movie was, and I thought, oh, can all these people be wrong? I'm just going to go for it. So I bought it, and I had a great time with it. I did intend on watching this on Halloween, but it was such a late night. Like, my kids went trick-or-treating, the family came down, so I only watched about 20 minutes of it and fell asleep. But I did watch it about a week later, and I really enjoyed it. And this is going to be one that I probably throw on literally every October now. I mean, I could probably watch it anytime, really, but it just captures Halloween so well in this movie. The decorations around the street, the creepy vibe it carries. Everyone's dressed up in the movie. It's just a real Halloween-themed film. But this is an anthology film where it follows 3 or 4, I think it's 4 stories that all interlock and intertwine together, and it's done really well with the writing and stuff. One of them is about a school bus that went missing with a load of kids years before, and then we find the school bus and the kids are all sort of coming back from the dead and stuff. We've got one about a neighbour to this guy who's basically killing people in his backyard, but he's a real goofball, kind of like Ned Flanders and stuff. Yeah, so, and we've got this little Sam character running around who you'll probably notice off the posters and stuff like that. But yeah, I thought this was a really well done movie. Really clever, the way it was all put together, and I had an absolute blast with it. So yeah, Trick or Treat is as good as everyone said. That is Trick or Treat. Number 6, one of the most popular movies on this list that I just never got to before, and that is Cujo from 1983. Yeah, I've just never fancied this film. I don't know why. I just thought, a film about a killer dog. I don't know if that's quite for me. And I had a blast with it. I mean, I was going on a live stream with the guys over at Twisted Locker. We were doing Stephen King movies, and this came up on the list, and it was one of the very few, apart from another one, which I'm going to mention in a minute, that I hadn't seen. So I got it watched in preparation for that video, and I'm so glad that them guys put it on their list, because this was a real blast. Now, half the movie is kind of like a family drama thing going on in this little small town. Stephen King loves a good small town feel to his stories, doesn't he? And the second half of the film is this like isolation type movie where Dee Wallace, who's great in this film, has got to protect her son from this mad dog, and the car is sort of broke and they can't escape this car. And this dog Cujo, who's rabid, just will not leave them alone. They can't leave the car because Cujo is right there in front of them. And I like how Cujo, kind of like Christine in that movie, seems to get worse and worse as the movie goes on. So as Christine is sort of getting redder and redder and gleaming, as she takes over the boy in that film. In this film, the more rabid Cujo gets and the more the movie goes on, the more sinister and demonic he looks and more scarier. I mean, you just would not go near this dog, put it that way. But there's a real mother and son relationship, like mother protecting their child, scenario going on here. She will do anything to not let him come in harm's way. And as a parent, I really felt that in this movie as well. You could really feel the performances from the two and how much Dee Wallace really cared for his son in this film and would do anything to protect him. But yeah, real good killer dog movie. And I'm so glad I watched it now. I wish I hadn't put it off for so long. So yeah, like I said, one of the most popular picks on this list. But that is finally watched now. That is Cujo. Next up is Mike Flanagan's Hush from 2016. I believe this stars his wife, Kate Siegel. And she is this deaf woman who's kind of just living on her own in the middle of nowhere. I think her and her neighbour are kind of just there in the outback, really. And this master assailant tries to break into her home. Kate Siegel is actually deaf in this movie, which brings a brand new dynamic to the film. She can't really hear where this guy is or anything. So it just raises the stakes. And once this master assailant actually learns that, I think he sort of gets a little bit excited in the movie and stuff and starts to play games with her, put it that way. And it's a real creepy movie where this guy has just got the most freaky looking mask on, and you can just tell he's there to terrorize this poor woman. But it's a real great home invasion film. You're really on the edge of your seat. It's not on for very long. I believe it's only like 82 minutes or something like that. It doesn't need to be any longer. But you really are championing Kate Siegel in there. And there are a couple of characters who are killed in this movie as well to keep the death and the violence in there, if that's your sort of thing. But I had a great time with this. Now, Mike Flanagan is really grown on me this year. I rewatched Dr. Sleep after not initially liking it all that much at the cinema. And I thought it was amazing the second time around. I absolutely loved this movie as well. I love Oculus. First time I watched that. So, yeah, I'm going to have to check a few of his TV series out that he's done on Netflix and stuff. Because he's a really great director. I'm very interested to see what he's going to do with The Exorcist as well. So yeah, Hush, what a great movie. Gonna have to pick that one up. I believe it's just come to physical media, so I'll have to grab that 4K as well. But that is Hush. Next up, another Stephen King movie, guys. Silver Bullet from 1985. Wow, what a movie this was. I had so much fun in this film. Again, this is one of the guys from Twisted Locker put this on his list, and I'm so glad I watched it. I've always wanted to see this movie. But I just think it's probably one of the best werewolf movies I've ever seen. to be honest, just behind the Wolfman and American Werewolf in London there, this would probably be in third place. Now this sees a small town, once again with Stephen King, being terrorized by what they think is this serial killer. People are just dying every time there's a full moon and stuff. And obviously we know that it is a werewolf. But I like that aspect of the movie where it's kind of like a detective sort of thing going on. People, like a mystery movie, trying to find out who's doing these killings and stuff like that. And the opening scene as well, it just sees this guy's head taken clean off. So it doesn't hold back from the violence or anything like that. But I really liked going along with the movie and guessing who this werewolf guy actually was. And I did sort of guess it halfway through, but it didn't take away any enjoyment or anything like that. Well, yeah, I just like the mystery aspect of it. I love the whole small town feel in this movie. I love the fact that it's called Silver Bullet as well, because obviously Silver Bullet would kill a werewolf, but that's not why it's called that. It's because Corey Haim is in a wheelchair in this movie, but it's kind of one of them wheelchairs with like NOS on or something, because his uncle Gary Busey does it up to be like the most badass wheelchair in the world, and his wheelchair is called Silver Bullet. So yeah, I've got a great cast in there with Gary Busey, who's insane in this movie. Corey Haim, of course, who's the main star. He's the one who's sort of investigating and knows something isn't quite right in this town. And he's the one who spotted this werewolf and no one really believes him. And Everett McGill, who's great in this movie as well. The guy from The People Under the Stairs, of course, and Twin Peaks. Yeah, really, really good cast. Awesome little setting for a movie, and just a great werewolf movie in general. So yeah, one of Stephen King's best adaptations, I'd say. So that is Silver Bullet. Oh, by the way, a lot of people don't like the look of the werewolf in this movie and say it ruins it. I thought that was part of the charm. I don't care if it's a guy in a werewolf suit. It worked for me. I'd rather have that over CGI any single day of the week. So that is Silver Bullet. Number 3 is another very popular pick, and that is from 1970, the lowest movie on this list for time period, and that is The Bird with the Crystal Plumage from Dario Argento. Now, I've seen quite a few Dario Argento movies, and I really do enjoy them. Deep Red, Tenebrae, probably my favourite one, to be honest. Not amazingly fussed on Suspiria, but that is definitely due a rewatch for me. But this is up there with one of the best I've seen from him as well. Now, this is in Rome, and it's got this American writer who's just basically walking around, and he sees this woman being attacked by this killer, and apparently this guy who's attacked this woman is doing a spate of murders across Rome, and he's an active serial killer and stuff. So this writer has to work with the police in order to track him down. The police really want to work with him as well, because he's seeing the identity and what this guy kind of looks like and stuff. So it's a real good giallo film, put it that way. I mean, it's the most giallo of the giallos I think I've seen, really. I mean, you got the black gloves, the guy dressed in black leather and stuff, and you'd only see him side on or his hands while he's strangling someone and stuff. I love that way of filmmaking. It just really screams pure 70s rawness now, doesn't it? And yeah, Dario Argento is, of course, of the best at doing these types of movies. But I was trying to piece this movie together all the way through, and the ending surprised the hell out of me. I just would never have guessed that in a million years, and it is so well done, especially the title as well and what it all means by the end of the film. I just thought it was a really, really well done mystery film with some cool little kills in there to boot as well. So yeah, one of Dario Argento's best films for sure, and I can't believe it's took me this long. So that is The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. Coming up next, another very popular pick, guys. Can't believe it's took me this long, but this is the 1981 original My Bloody Valentine. Oh my god, what a great slasher this was. So this sees this small town who, their history, they had a death, like an accidental tragedy that happened on Valentine's Day, and they haven't really celebrated Valentine's Day for a long time now. And they decide to sort of leave all that in the past and have this party 20 years later. And a person who knows someone, I think, was killed in a tragedy, isn't quite fond of that and decides to come back and start killing people off one by one in this little community town who've decided to forget them people and sort of have fun basically on Valentine's Day, and all the kills are like a lot of them are Valentine's themed. Like people will be reading out a Valentine's Day poem before they're killed. I think there's a heart. Someone's heart is put in a box at one point, and they open it up, and there's a heart in there and stuff like that. But the second half of this movie all kind of takes place in this mine, which is a weird place for a Valentine's Day movie to take place, but it is a mine town. And the guy who's going around killing these people is dressed as a miner himself with the gas mask and stuff. He looks absolutely awesome. And some great kills in this movie, I must say. One of the kills is where he has this pickaxe, which is his weapon of choice, and he swings it underneath this guy's jaw right there, and it comes right through his face, into his skull, right back out, and pokes his eye out. I was like, wow, that is one of the best horror movie kills I think I've ever seen. And the ending, although I did predict it, it had me going for a while. I didn't predict it until about 10 minutes before the reveal. But yeah, good little mystery movie. You kind of don't know who the killer's going to be. And I just had a lot of fun with it. What a great slasher movie. As soon as I watched it, I picked up the 4K from Screen Factory. I had to have it in my collection. So yeah, I can't believe it's took this long. I'm glad to have finally watched it, and I watched it uncut. So that is my Bloody Valentine. Number one, though, is going to be 10 Rillington Place. And the most horrific thing about this movie is it's actually based on a true story. Now, people might say this is a thriller film. No, for me, this is the most horrific thing I watched all year, because I was really angry with this movie for the fact that this was allowed to happen. Now, this sees Richard Attenborough playing John Christie, who was a real-life serial killer in the 60s, I believe, in Britain. And he basically cons people into thinking that they are going to get better if they listen to him by these like medical cures he's got. And basically he is lying to them and making them worse. And it takes a long time for people to catch on to that. And some of the stuff he's putting these women through is horrific. And he is just a real nasty bastard in this movie with no ounce of emotion whatsoever, and he just wants to basically kill as many people as he can and get away with it. But he doesn't care how old these people are who he's killing, put it that way. I'm not going to say any much more than that. And also he will let people sort of take the blunt for his crimes and just live with that and just not care and not show any emotion whatsoever. It's an unbelievable performance from Richard Attenborough by playing John Christie here. He really does get under your skin, just a horrible, nasty, vile human being. And John Hurt, who also plays this guy who moves into his apartment because he's letting this apartment out. Man, I just felt so sorry for him. His name is John Hurt for a reason with this character, because you can just see the pain and hate behind this character's eyes. But it's just a brilliant performance from both. I mean, powerhouse performances here. And I recommend this movie so much, guys. You will not believe this actually happened. I was looking it all up afterwards going, oh my God, this is actually true. Oh, he did this, he did that. Just a real sinister film, guys. I really do recommend it, especially if you love your true crime. But like I said, people might think this is a thriller. For me, it's a horror, because this was absolutely horrific. And by the end of the movie, I was angry that this happened. So number one is 10 Rillington Place. Okay, guys, hope you all enjoyed this video. What do you think of these watches? I know I should have got to some of these easily before now, but don't forget to check out my recent Horror Watches episodes. Any movies that I've reviewed in this list will be down below. Don't forget to follow me on Letterboxd there. Please give this video a like and subscribe to this channel if horror is your sort of thing. Thanks so much, guys. You take care, and I'll see you all in the next video.